What's up, guys? I'm Circa for Entrepreneur, and I'm going to be walking you through a lot of this training along with my team. But before we begin, we need to get down some very, very important core concepts. The way we do things here at Entrepreneur and the methods that we employ are a bit counterintuitive to what you may have experienced just coming up in the modern record industry. The cues that we take from the industry are kind of critically broken. And a lot of the things that we learn from not only the major record labels, but also from music marketers who are kind of fumbling around in the dark trying to get this stuff right, has caused a lot of bad habits. So we want to teach you the overarching methodology, why we do what we do, and how to think about it in the right way so that you can employ the strategies that we teach in the best possible fashion and get the most results out of it. Now, we focus entirely on acquiring, maintaining, and then maximizing the value of a fan base. To us, fans are the only thing that matters. View counts don't matter. Charting, getting a hit, that doesn't matter. And hitting certain social media numbers certainly doesn't matter if it doesn't get you supporting fans that make your career possible. Now, you may think, oh, I want to go get a viral video, right? I want to put out a video that just gets shared all over the internet. That's the thing that I should do. But if you were to do that and it didn't bring you any new fans for your music career, it would feel like a waste, right? The only reason that a viral video matters for your music is if it gets you new fans. Similarly, you might think that you want to get written up about in your favorite music blog, right? If they could just write you up, then that would solve all of your music career problems. But that doesn't really matter if it doesn't get you a bunch of new fans. And I've spent thousands of dollars on blog placement that didn't yield any new fans. I mean, it was nice to read words about my music that were, complimentary, but that novelty soon faded because it wasn't helping me with my goals for my music career. And then you might think, oh, I want to go get, rotation on the radio, and I want to, get on my local radio station and hope that picks up. But if that happened and you didn't get any new fans for your music career, then it wouldn't really matter, because fans are really the only thing that matters in the music industry. You might want to get booked at a festival, but the only reason that a booking agent at a festival is going to book you is because it will benefit their bottom line if they know that your fans will come to the festival. And that's why fans are the only thing that matters in that transaction. They're not going to book you if you don't have a large fan base. Similarly, you might want a company to just license your music, right? But the music supervisor has to, be a fan of what you're doing musically, and then the company has to be a fan of it. And then the production company doing the bit of work has to be a fan of it. And certainly the people who watch it have got to be a fan of it. They've got to like it. So fans in any transaction in the music industry are really the end user. They're the only thing that matters. And if you focus entirely on them and ignore all the other agendas in the music industry, it can revolutionize how you do things. Now, the modern music industry constantly supports a fallacy. And that is that you need to find someone who knows the right people. You need to find someone who has the connections, right? The right relationships, who can get your music in the right hands. And independent musicians tend to believe this because these gatekeepers, booking agents, executive managers, label reps, radio DJs, even more successful acts, they're the only ones who have done what we deem kind of impossible. And they are awarded immense significance by us independent musicians because they have done that impossible task. They have been part of a music career that has produced a whole lot of fans. To the independent musician, getting a fan base is like a big question mark. It's the hardest thing for us to understand how to do, or even to imagine how it's going to happen. It's a goal that is so massive that we can't even see the journey there step by step. So we attribute undue importance to these gatekeepers because we think they can get us fans, and that feat in itself is almost superhuman to us. The only pathways to get the exposure that could result in a fan base have always been very cumbersome, or they were inaccessible to the average person. Either way, they just didn't seem like viable options for us. And I want to go over a few of those. Number one, there was radio. Now, radio has been owned outright by indie and then major labels since the 1950s. They buy and pay for radio, at first using payola. Labels would directly pay radio DJs to play the right records so that they could sell them. And then later, once these indies became part of national conglomerates like CBS Records, they began paying paying intermediaries, people called independent radio promoters, to bribe the radio DJs for them so that they didn't look like they were involved in an illegal practice. But it carried on, and it still carries on to this day. The radio doesn't play what's popular. It plays what record labels want you to think is popular. And it's completely inaccessible to us independent musicians, and there have been a number of great articles on this subject by some of our peers. Then there is television. Television is a great way to get exposure to a massive new audience and convert new fans, but it's completely inaccessible to us. It's ruled by gatekeepers. You need a publicist or a relationship into the show and a reason to be on it. And typically that reason is that you have been signed to a major record label. Then we have print. Print is very much like television in that way. You need a expensive publicist. You need label connections. You need a reason, a story. And usually the front cover of Rolling Stone is not independent artists. I mean, traditionally that is not the case. So it hasn't been accessible to us. Now, touring. Touring is made very, very easy by being on a major label because booking agents will give you a lot more credence if you have a major label backing you. But it's also how us indies have been able to generate a fan base come hell or high water in the past. Now, touring is very, very expensive, even if you're a major label musician, much less an indie musician. It's also taxing. It requires an incredibly difficult schedule that can really, really stress you out, especially if you're doing it for years on end, and then it takes up all of your time. Now, successfully touring can get you a fan base, but only at the end of, many, many years. And then after that, you have to think, well, how trackable is my fan base? How easy is it for me to reach back out to them? And if you haven't also been doing that work while you're doing this full-time job of touring, then you're kind of screwed. So touring is not the most accessible option for indies either, even though it's been the only option to us in the past. And then there's national advertising campaigns, Madison Avenue style branding campaigns that these record labels run. 30-second TV spots for Lady Gaga, right? And the album is in every magazine and it's just everywhere. They blanket the country with media. Now that works. It can break a new artist out of relative obscurity into the national spotlight, but it's so expensive and so unmeasurable that you need to not only have the money to do it, but that money needs to be a very small percent of what you're betting that year total, right? It needs to be kind of one of your many, many wagers, and that requires a multinational conglomerate like the major record label. So that's completely inaccessible. The industry was able to own the ability to generate attention by dominating these pathways. You could not compete with label money in any of these key arenas. But that doesn't mean that the people at the top were particularly skilled at garnering a fan base for an artist. If you look at any of these pathways, they are not trackable. You cannot measure the return you are getting from these marketing investments. In fact, major record labels kind of suck at marketing. In 1979, CBS Records made $1 billion in revenue, but they only took home $51 million. Okay? That's because record labels have a bad habit of wasting marketing dollars on these big tentpole album releases and mass media Madison Avenue branding campaigns. Now, if you research Tiffany, you'll find a comically extreme example of this type of behavior failing massively, where record labels thought they could just pay the right radio guys and make an artist who just had no backing, no fans, and not a whole lot of talent famous. And that didn't work. They couldn't completely influence the attention of the public in that way. But if you look at it, the only things that have been successful have had almost as much budget behind them as they had revenue in sales. And then if on top of that, there's tons of people who haven't been successful who had very, very large budgets behind them. So the industry is making these very, very expensive bets, and there's tons of failures in there. Now, the titans of this industry are almost laughably bad at some very crucial, important business concepts. It may seem like they're very talented at their roles, but make no mistake. The labels, the major live event bookers, the industry managers, the entertainment lawyers, they only cash out when they come across a massive, too successful to screw up opportunity. They traditionally have never turned a profit off of marginally successful releases. Albums that sell tens or even hundreds of thousands of copies are not successful enough for them to have made a profit. And that is perhaps why, although the music industry seems gigantic, when you total it all up, In the US, CD sales, vinyl sales, other associated media, cassette tapes, downloads, streams, radio, royalties, and then live music. All of this in the US was only worth $17.221 billion in 2016. Now that's a small number. It may seem huge, but personal injury lawyers were worth almost double that in 2016. And personal injury lawyers, these are these guys who tell you when you get in an accident to call them and they'll sue. They eclipse the music industry in annual revenue. Why is that, right? Isn't that kind of shocking? Now, in fact, Amazon as one company brought in more during the month of November in 2016 than all three major record labels brought in for the whole year. So what does Amazon know that the major record labels don't? Let's look at this really, really granularly, okay? The Amazon as one company has been able to eclipse this industry. It should tell you that this is a baby industry. It is almost 2.5 times as old, the modern record industry, as Amazon is as a company. Yet it can't seem to beat them in any notable way. Amazon has been able to grow by capitalizing on a very simple business principle. And that is that there are three ways to grow a business, okay? It may seem like very complex, but there's really only three, and by focusing on all three of these, you can achieve great things. Number one, you can increase the amount of customers in a business. Now, record labels have been able to do this. If you think about, platinum selling singles, debut singles, that is a feat. That is increasing the amount of customers. They were able to get many, many customers in the door. This is what people tend to think of marketing as only, but marketing encompasses all three of these growth triggers. Record labels have been able to fumble their way into success here by capitalizing on a stranglehold they have over traditional promotion channels, radio, TV, billboards, magazines, etc. Labels are good at achieving this, but at what cost? If you look at the marketing budgets for even marginal successes in the music industry, you will find a lot of waste and inefficiency. Now, number two, you can increase the value of a given transaction in your company. That will grow your business. So if you get 100 customers, this month, and they all buy something at $10, and next month they buy the same thing at $20, well, then your business is larger, verifiably larger. So you can increase the value of a given transaction. There's two ways to do this. You can either charge more, and that can be by offering more or just by raising your prices, or you can lower the costs of a given transaction. That is either lowering the cost it is to acquire that customer or lowering the cost of making the goods you're selling. So if you make CDs for $2 and then you can make them for $1, you are growing your business. You're increasing the value of a transaction. Record labels have been playing around with this for a long time and failing miserably. Labels raised prices on CDs right around the time before Napster came out. That was the peak of the record label. So you see where they have raised prices, the market clearly innovated out of that, and they failed to pick up that innovation, and it cost them dearly. So they haven't been very good at modifying the price. They're kind of slaves to what people are willing to pay for music, and that's because they don't have really, really creative ideas for what to offer people. People know what a CD is. They don't know what a more creative offer is. They don't know how to value it. People know how to value CDs, and the industry has never really capitalized off of this unique opportunity to create better offers. Which brings us to the most important growth factor Amazon has capitalized off of, which is you can increase the amount of transactions for each customer in your business. This is what has made Amazon an absolute giant. Amazon knows that they can spend any amount of money they want to acquire a customer. They are comfortable doing that because they know that once you become a customer of Amazon, you're coming back. Not only are you likely to return, but it's very easy to actually get you to return. Your information is saved. You already have good experiences with the company, and they know how to reach back out to you. They know what you like. They can offer you more of it. Amazon has grown to be one of the 50 largest companies in the world in record time because it understands this key principle, that if you spend marketing dollars to acquire a customer, the best way to grow your business is to sell them more stuff. The record labels don't know much about this at all, even though those who become fans of our music stay for much longer than those who become customers of a business. We have a unique opportunity to have a customer for a lifetime if we can create one for one purchase. But the record labels are not capitalizing off of this repeat lifetime value. They don't have a good handle on this. And that's because it takes marketing prowess to understand how this works. You need to know where customers are coming from. You need to track their data. You need to have automated systems in place that nurture relationships and follow up with customers to make them more offers. And the industry sucks at this. And we know because almost 10% of all Billboard chart entries are one-hit wonders. How is it that a label can generate so much attention, interest, and desire around an album that it goes platinum, and yet the follow-up tanks? Why is it that the highest point of pressure for an artist is following up a hit? Shouldn't that be easy? You've already sold 1 million people something. That means that they are on average 10 times more likely to buy something else than a random stranger. Why can't you make money off of the follow-up? And that's because labels are not measuring and tracking meaningful data. They don't know which customer names and emails purchased which product and how long ago. They don't know which customers have purchased the most times. They don't understand where their most profitable opportunities lie, because they profit off of obscene crazes, not off of smart, reliable business practices. Now, we say all that to say this. What we teach is focused on these 3 ways to grow a business. First, acquire customers efficiently. Then, ensure that you are providing products efficiently to get the most value out of a given transaction. Then, keep in touch with all of your customers, nurture the relationship with them, and then offer them more stuff. Okay? It sounds simple, right? Trust me, as simple as it sounds at this very moment, you understand this far more than any music industry professional. And I know these people. I have lunch with these people. I call them on their birthday. They're not very good at what we're talking about right here. And that's because everyone in the industry has their eye on the wrong agenda. But if you focus on the right agenda, you can beat all of them. They've got their eye off the prize. Look at all of these different agendas that major labels have. They have all these different things to focus on that have just nothing to do with what's really, really important. So if you make your agenda this, that's all you need. That is all you need. If you want to get good at gaining fans, all you have to do is focus on it and ignore all the other bullshit agendas that the industry says are important. And if you want to get good at gaining fans, you will very quickly realize that building a fan is a lot like building a friendship. In fact, all business, all sales and marketing is really best modeled after the human relationship building process. The internet produces millionaires every day who have built an automatic selling system that mimics the protocols of a human relationship. Most music marketers and industry professionals treat the fan building process like an event. Oh, if I get my song on the radio, I'll get a bunch of fans. If I can just get this feature, I'll blow up. Everyone is focused on the overnight success, but sales, marketing, building fans, building a movement, it's not an event. It's a process, okay? Behavioral zoologist Desmond Morris detailed in his book Intimate Behavior that humans as a species progress through relationships in a strict sequential order. First, there is eye-to-body contact, which is I see you. Then there is eye-to-eye contact, we see each other. Then there's voice-to-voice contact, we're talking. Then there is hand-to-hand contact, right? We're shaking hands. Then there is hand-to-shoulder, and it progresses and progresses from there. Now, the most successful marketers of the 21st century understand that this process is as psychological as it is physical. So they understand that in order for someone to say yes to a sales offer, the event that they're looking for, they first have to trust the person or the business making the offer. And before anyone can trust you, they first have to like you, because we don't really trust people we don't like, right? So before we like someone, we first really have to know them, because we don't like anyone that we don't know, or at least think that we know. And then before we can even know someone, we have to be aware of them. So there are steps before we get to that sale. That realization has changed everything. So the better the first impression, the more they'll get to know you. The more you're like them, the more they will trust you. So if you can accommodate each step in a better way, the entire system is better because of it. Now, marketing has become the art of identifying and sequencing out these small but incredibly necessary steps. Every marketing campaign seeks to move a customer or a prospect from one step to the next, and this set of campaigns or steps is called a marketing funnel. You can think of every marketing campaign that might exist in your business as part of one big funnel, and it's called a funnel because as you move groups of people from one step to the next, people will drop off. Just like there may have been, many potential friends at your high school, only a select group of people ended up becoming acquaintances, and even less of them became actual friends. So because the audience becomes narrower, better, and more familiar as they travel through your funnel, that's why it's called a funnel. Most marketers teach one type of funnel or another. Some marketers explain an entire business from before a sale is made to delivering the product to after a sale is made as a funnel blueprint or a funnel architecture. And that's because you can place many different kinds of campaigns and sales funnels inside of this overall system as long as they achieve the step in the process that they are supposed to. So, any different kind of campaign can go in these little spaces, and as long as it achieves that step appropriately, it's going to work. For example, if my funnel architecture starts with a campaign introducing my brand to a cold audience through an ad, the next step may be educating those who have responded to that campaign. I might educate them on the features or the benefits of my product, or I might educate them on the problem my product solves. Either way, the campaign I use to achieve that step must successfully educate that person, regardless of if I use a socially embedded video or an advertisement for a blog post on my website or a personal email. Whatever the campaign is, it should have a measurable result, and that result should allow me to run my business profitably. Over the past 2 years, we here at Entrepreneur have been spending thousands of dollars per month in advertising and marketing to identify, measure, track, and then optimize the steps that a person takes from stranger to fan. And through this experimentation, we have been able to develop a funnel architecture that will work for any musician as long as they have quality sounding music. And through learning the right way to build a fan base, we've also learned that the industry kind of screws this all up dramatically. And what many music marketers have recommended in the past can be antithetical to what actually works. Now, before you begin learning this campaign strategy, you first have to understand the funnel architecture that it fits into. This funnel architecture is called the buddy system. Now, the buddy system is not a safety protocol at a children's camp. It's a funnel architecture, and it's modeled and based entirely on human friendships. Each step in the buddy system can be accomplished with a fully automated marketing campaign. Using this process, we have been able to acquire new fans at a profit and use follow-up campaigns to deepen the relationship and facilitate follow-up purchases. Thus, we have been able to activate the 3 growth triggers that have made online businesses wildly successful using automated marketing for independent musicians. Now, let's take a deep look at how the buddy system works.